Hey, this is Josh Roosen, Community Director at Jake Gino. And if you want to learn how to sharpen your axe and take down your biggest goals, you should be listening to the Small Axe Communities podcast with my good friend, Nico Salgado.
Hi, welcome to the show. I'm Nico Salgado, and I chat with top industry leaders in multifamily and business. I believe that it only takes a small axe to build a lasting empire. And if you want to learn how to use your small axe to accomplish your biggest dreams and goals, then join our Small Axe community and enjoy the show. All right, guys, welcome to the Small Axe Community Podcast. Today we have my special guest and special friend, Mr. Joshua Roosen. Joshua is an amazing person, an amazing human, and an amazing friend. After turning the first home he purchased into a rental when moving across country, Josh saw the power of cash flowing assets. To further get his foot in the door, he joined up with one of the nation's largest real estate investing education companies, where he became passionate about helping others while furthering his own investing career. After realizing the power of multifamily, he joined the Jake Gino team to grow his portfolio in multifamily while expanding the Jake Gino community. Josh currently owns 328 units and inspires people every day. So my man, Josh, welcome to the show.
Nico, thank you. That was a pretty good introduction. Now I got to live up to it.
I don't even think you need to, man. Just by talking, the way you talk and your energy and passion that you bring, value will come from that. So it's going to be oozing out of you. I want to start with, let's start with your journey, because for me, you know, that your journey and your story has been so inspirational. And I think that others can get value out of that too.
Yeah, Nico, I appreciate it. So everything really started in 8th grade. I have an aunt who is in real estate, and she gave me the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Well, I read it, and it planted a seed. I wasn't really ready for that message or receptive to it yet. I didn't drop out of middle school and start a business, anything like that. Then fast forward to high school, I get really into biology and working out, and I decide I want to become a doctor, right? I liked health. The sciences were very interesting. Mm-hmm. And so obviously you go to college, the natural path, and I'm studying pre-professional biology with a chemistry minor, and I'm working for an orthopedic surgeon. And this guy was a big mentor in my life. And it's the summer before my senior year. I'm getting ready to take the MCAT. And he comes home one day and he's like, look, don't do it. I wouldn't let my kids do it. You're crazy, referencing becoming a doctor. And I'm super confused. He's doing way better than my family did growing up. And I'm like, he must have had a bad day. So I asked him a little bit more about, hey, what's going on? Why? He's like, look, how much debt do you have from undergrad? And I told him, and then he said, look, you're going to accumulate, at least a $250,000 or more of debt from graduate school. And then you're going to accrue interest on all those loans throughout residency and fellowship. You're going to graduate, you'll probably be 30 by the time you're an attending physician and be $500,000 in debt. Well, even then I was like, okay, but you make good money, you can get out of that, right? And he's like, no, you don't get it. He's like, look, in the 90s, I used to make 7 figures a year. Now I'm lucky if I make half that. And I'm sitting here thinking, this guy's complaining about making $500,000 a year. Like, the hell, rich people problems, right? And so he's like, you really don't get it. And he was like, look, I predict by the time you graduate, physician reimbursements will be between $100,000 to $200,000 a year. He's like, you're going to have to live in a 1-bedroom apartment for a decade just to get out from under that debt. Now, picture and imagining myself being 40 years old and just starting to live life. That was a really scary thought. So much so that it actually scared me out of pursuing that dream of medicine. And at that point, I realized I can't just curl up in a ball and not do anything. So I was like, all right, what would you do if you were me? So he says, go into business and make more money from my investments than I do being a doctor. So at that point, I moved home after I graduated and I started researching different businesses. And I didn't have a lot of capital, and I just knew I had a drive and I really wanted to succeed. So a few that I came across were car detailing. I loved taking care of my stuff, and I figured it was a low startup cost and I could do that. The next one I came across was home healthcare, and I realized that we were having a silver tsunami and that it was something I could do. So I chose that, and then for 6 months, I went to Starbucks and Panera each and every day. And at the end of 6 months, I had a website, I had business cards, I had a brochure, I had an LLC, a Google Voice number. But at the same time, I didn't generate a penny in revenue. So my parents were watching me do this, and they're like, this whole entrepreneurship thing's a dream. Like, it's, Josh, you get time to grow up and get a job. And they basically gave me an ultimatum that they're going to kick me out unless I got a job. So again, I grew up in Michigan. 6 months after graduating, it's getting pretty cold out, and I didn't want to live in my car. So we go to Thanksgiving. It's at my aunt's house, the one that got me into or gave me the book on Rich Dad Poor Dad. And basically from there, she said, hey, why don't you consider real estate? I'm like, haha, you going to put me up? She said no. And so that's when I really started investigating in real estate, and I looked for a way to get into it. And I found a job at the nation's largest single family investing real estate education company. And that's what really got my foot in the door with real estate at first.
Awesome, man. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I got to backtrack a little bit because we could spend hours talking about that journey, because there are people that I know, and I'm sure people that you know too, that are on the same or similar path and similar journey. And what happens is a lot of times people have that drive, that enthusiasm and that excitement and even the energy, but we are lacking the knowledge of what to do. So you had some instrumental players in your life. It first started with your friend, the doctor, who we can call a mentor, I guess, because he guided you on a different path and hit you with a pound of reality right there. And a lot of times from a young age, we're beaten with, hey, you have to grow up, you have to get a good job, you got to get a high paying job. And that's not necessarily the most beneficial way to provide for yourself and your family, and to even create a good future for yourself. So what would you say to somebody who has got the energy, got the enthusiasm, and is going gung-ho on a high paying W-2 job right now? They're putting all their efforts towards that.
This is where you got to anchor back to Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? In the cash flow quadrant. So then you're an employee, you're still trading time for money. And when I really, really look at things, I believe time is our most valuable asset. Money is just a tool. And the paycheck is the most powerful drug out there, because it convinces you to spend 50 weeks a year for 2 weeks off. Most people work 50 years of their life to hopefully live a good 10 or 20. And really with that, it's your time is the one asset you can't get more of. You can have as much money as you want, but the time is ending 1 second at a time. And when you realize that and you start valuing it, you want the money to work for you rather than you trading time for money. So I would start looking for ways to reduce your expenses, invest the money so you can have the time to spend with the loved ones and create the memories, because there's no do-overs in life.
Wow, man. Oh, okay. The paycheck is the most powerful drug. Josh, that is heavy, man. And it's true. You know what? We get stuck. We get stuck thinking it comes to a point of fear as well. So if you are getting a constant paycheck, regardless of how many taxes are being taken out of that, regardless of how much you're actually earning, it's constant, it's steady, it's secure, it's safe. And that also comes down to you talking about your family, keeping you safe, saying, hey, Josh, I don't think that real estate is the right way to go, because our whole society is built upon people doing what we think is best for ourselves and our families. And a lot of times it's not really the best solution. So I love that, man. Paycheck is the most powerful drug because it's safe and secure. But sometimes if we really want to achieve our highest and biggest dreams and goals, we have to break that pattern, get rid of those drugs, break the chains, and move on to something that will be really beneficial. So if you could teach, or how would you recommend somebody getting the knowledge that they really need as opposed to the knowledge that we're taught?
Yeah, so it starts with having an open mind, right? You have to be receptive to these ideas and reading basic financial literacy books, right? To really get the idea of you can have these assets that work for you and you can own your time. And you have to have belief that you can do it. So something like Rich Dad Poor Dad is a really good one, or Millionaire Fastlane would be my first 2 books for anyone that's just beginning their journey to financial independence.
Great advice, man. And now let's say people are so they got those books, they read them, they are inspired, and they're like, okay, I need to continue my education. I think we're onto something here. What would be some next steps after reading those books?
Yeah, so there are a lot of different vehicles that can create financial independence, right? You can open up an Amazon store and do some kind of e-commerce. You can do real estate. Even within real estate, there are a ton of niches, right? You could do self-storage, mobile home parks. You and I specifically do multifamily. So I would get very clear and I would get very committed to an asset class. And the reason why I say that is if you look at multifamily, it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? It definitely takes a good while before you get your first deal. And if you're not 100% committed, you're going to retreat at the first sign of danger. And then the other thing is, and I'll teach you a really good story here, but I would have a very strong why on why you're doing this. And Nico, let me ask you, I'm going to give you a good example. Let's say I have a balance beam and let's say it's 5 feet long and it's a foot off the ground, would you walk across that balance beam for $1,000?
Absolutely.
Now let's put that same balance beam and let's put it 90 stories up across 2 buildings. Would you walk across that same balance beam for the same $1,000?
I am going to say absolutely not.
Okay, now let's take that same balance beam and let's put your whole family in the other building and that building's burning down. Are you going to walk across to try to save them?
I am going to run across to try to save them, no matter how high up it is.
Yes. And the only thing that's changed is why you're doing something. So when you have a strong enough why, failure is not an option. You're committed to making it happen. So you're going to overcome any obstacle that's thrown against you. And you will hit obstacles. Business is hard. There's on a day-to-day basis, you're going to hit things and you're going to question yourself. But if you have that strong why and that commitment and that belief, again, failure isn't an option. And that's what I strongly recommend.
Wow, man. Okay, so we have the vision. We know where we want to go. We want to get, let's say we're getting into an asset class, right? We committed and chose to an asset class. We're going to be bombarded with crap every day that is going to be telling us no, trying to put a roadblock in front of us. So we need to have a strong why. And I love that. So does the why matter, I guess, or what's your why?
Yeah. So for me, it's not that I value money, right? I don't want to be an Uncle Scrooge sitting there counting going through my dollars and swimming through them, things like that. What I want is what money can buy, right? And that's the ability for me to, when I have kids, coach Little League for them or be the kindergarten room dad and travel the world. Also to know that one day when I pass and it's going to happen, that I've left something that I know my kids and my kids' kids will be okay. And I've left them in a better position. So that's my big why there, is to be able to spend the time with those that I love and that I care about and not have money be a deciding factor in decisions I make in my life.
Oh man. So that's my why too. And you know what? People are going to have to find out their own why. Okay. But I want to talk to you a little bit about this process now. So we understand what we are going for. We discovered our why. Next step, what do we do? How do we get, move towards our goal? So, I mean, we all know that we can go get hired and start working somewhere. That's a possibility. What are our other options?
Yeah, Nico. So I love this, right? And there's a lot of ways to quote unquote compress the timeline to success. And again, when you start valuing your time as the most valuable asset, you look at ways that how can I speed this journey up, right? And we're not talking about taking shortcuts or anything like that, but just avoid the trial and error process and lessen mistakes. And what I would highly recommend is to find someone that in the space that's doing what you like, they have the results that you want, they've replicated those results with other people. And then that there's someone that like, and trust, right? Because John Maxwell says, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And once you find that person, I would either pay to play or seek to serve to get their attention, right? Their time, and learn how they've done what they've done. Because here's the thing, success leaves clues. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. In fact, I'll give it to you. I'm not even that smart. What I do is R&D, rip off and duplicate, right? You find someone who's way smarter than you did and you just copy them and take those systems. And guess what? It's like a recipe. If you put in the same ingredients, the same work ethic, at the same steps in the same order, it's very likely you're going to get similar results. And in fact, education is the only investment someone can make that's going to reduce risk and maximize upside. Think about that.
So I agree with you 100%. Now, there are going to be, I guess, limiting beliefs here. There are going to be people that stop themselves from walking across this balance beam right now. And the reason is going to be, well, how am I going to get a mentor? How am I going to meet up with this person? Or how am I going to emulate them? Or how am I going to do it properly? I have no money. I have no resources. Let's crush these, man.
Yeah, so that's a really good thing, right? And I understand the situation you're in, and you got to realize that people with less resources or less capability have created success. So first off, you have to believe you can. And once you get that, I would find any way to add value. I'll give you an example. When I came here to these guys in their company, I didn't pay to play to be here. In fact, I seek to serve, right? I found a skill set I had that they needed, and I was consistent about over delivering value. In fact, before I even came here, there was probably 3 months where we were regularly working together, and I had a job where I was working 70 hours a week. I was dedicating my nights, my weekends, my mornings to learning my craft and adding value to these guys. And it created that future opportunity for allowing me to be here, and got me the results that I have today.
I think that's really important for people to understand. You have to, so people think of, entrepreneurship, owning real estate as that you're not really working. But the truth is you're putting in as much time and energy and effort as you can afford to keep yourself sane and motivated and moving forward, right? It's not, and you said it before, earlier on in the podcast, it's not a sprint, this is a marathon. But if you have a true end goal that is big and grand and something that you have really the desire to achieve, as well as a huge why, you can overcome those obstacles and get to where you need to get. So like, I want to unpack a little bit more here. You said there's no real easy way out if you really want to achieve your goal, you really need to dive deep into this. So I have no money. I'm gonna go to, I found the person that I really want to emulate. How would you approach that person?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example, right? We get a ton of people on a weekly basis that want to quote unquote add value, but they don't know how, they don't have any skills, they're not willing to move across country to work with us. And at that point, they just reach out with a blank proposal. So what I would do is get very clear on how you can add value to this person. I would study them, figure out their needs, whether it's, hey, I'm gonna go shopping for you, I'm gonna pick up the dog doo-doo in the yard. I mean, I'd be willing to seek to serve and do what others won't so you can have what others can't. I would look for a deficit or a way in their business that they need help and identify how you can fill that niche or that void, or even who you could connect them with that would add value. I've seen it time in and time out, people reaching up and adding value. And again, it's got what got me here. And I really think that those relationships are key to building this business, and you have to realize the power. And another thing, a couple things you brought up that I think are really worth unpacking is most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10, right? So it's slow. The get there itis is a really dangerous thing. And the curve to success as an entrepreneur is kind of like a hockey stick curve, right? So slow, 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 flat, and then it goes up exponentially, right? No one does all this knowledge to do one deal. And that's the thing, right? Once you have it, you've gone through the trial and error and the learning curve, and then you can use that knowledge over and over and over again, and then refine your skills and get better.
Terrific, man. I love it. Now, how does that start? Do you just call somebody? If you say, hey, I want to emulate this person, would you just give them a call, a text, an email, talk to somebody they know? What would you do?
Oh man, that's a great question. So I would go as direct to the sources you can, right? So if you can find their phone number, absolutely reach out. And you got to be persistent and you got to be consistent, right? Because a lot of these people have a lot of fans or followers that are reaching out. And again, you have to have a unique message that's going to stand out in front of them, a way to add value, right? How you're going to help them. And you got to get something that's a win-win, right? You don't want to be a leech or a mosquito where it's take, take, take. You want to give so much value that they want to reciprocate, and that's how you truly win in this business.
I agree. And if people don't understand that concept, I mean, I highly recommend the book that you have recommended to me, The Go-Giver. That'll help you kind of clarify that concept and really understand what you're getting from giving. I want to see if you have any examples of people adding value. So I've got one from Mr. Will Coleman, who contacted his mentor or his guru, and he told him, look, I'm going to mow the lawns for all of your property. And and it can be something like that. It can be something as simple as that. If you don't have the cash to add value to somebody, there are so many things that you can do. You have to kind of think about what you can add to somebody and think about what they need and what would be beneficial for them. Do you have any examples of people who have added value, maybe in a strange way but effectively?
That's a really good question. So I'm going to give you a personal example here. So I obviously have a lot on my plate. And one thing I'm at the position of now is looking for an executive assistant. And it's not something where it's going to be the highest paid position, right? And I want someone who's got belief in the vehicle we have, multifamily real estate, and then who's driving the vehicle, right? So that would be our mentors, both Jake and Gino. And so we have a student who his son just graduated high school this past year. And he's literally going to move across country. He lives in Colorado, come out here to be able to help with everything, right? And these are little things like setting up my dentist appointment, helping with my car details, things like that. And he's going to learn the business too, right? Be around these guys. And so when you look at working, and we can even take this at a broader approach, I wouldn't work for money on the front end, right? Money, again, that paycheck subdues you. I would work for knowledge or equity. And that's something that I took directly from Warren Buffett, obviously someone who's very, very, very successful. Because if you look at it, that's how a lot of successful people got their start.
That's excellent, man. And so we got a go-getter jumping onto your team, and they're going to be successful. And people need to understand that out there. So Yeah, you might have to put in time. You should put in time. You do the same thing. We put in 20 years of education in the traditional educational system. We're putting in time, guys. So by putting in another year, you're actually getting a lot of value because you're able to work side by side with these professionals. I love that. I want to move on a little bit, Josh, to talk about, so one of your dreams and goals is to, have free time to spend with your kids and your family. But right now you have no free time, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So this is a really good point, right? So you have to do what others won't to have what others can't, or you pay the price now so you can pay any price later. And a lot of times what it is, there's a level of sacrifice, discipline that comes with achieving goals and creating true success. And that's why it takes a very strong why, because I'll tell you what, there are going to be days where you don't feel like doing it. Entrepreneurship as a whole is a very lonely journey. I mean, you can go out and your friends will be drinking and everything like that. And you got to really watch your money, your health, your fitness, right? Everything in there, because doing everything and really being in alignment and going all in is the fastest route to create success. And in fact, one of my biggest fears, and this is something I think from Jim Rohn, is that he says the definition of hell on earth is that your last day, you meet the person you could have became, right? So all that kind of wasted potential. And in fact, if you look at it with different organisms, a tree doesn't stop growing, right? It's going to grow with all the resources it can that it has available. A human is the only organism that doesn't reach its full potential. And to me, I think that's it's a shame that most people don't reach their full potential. And I want that. And I want to bring others up in the world. One thing I'm very big on is I'm like, you ever seen a barrel of monkeys, Nico?
Oh yeah.
The toys where they're like this.
Yep, yep.
I want to have one hand reaching up, right? Always trying to learn from those that are above me, one hand reaching down, bringing those that are below me up with me as well. And I want to, that's a huge impact that I'm very big on in this world.
Oh, Josh, I love it, man. That is great. I love that analogy. Oh man. Okay. Great, great, great. So now let's talk a little bit about what we're currently doing. So I need to share that I met you, back in November, and I had a conversation with you to jump onto your team, and I was skeptical because I thought that I could handle everything myself. And I was like, I'm going to get into multifamily by myself. I'm going to create this huge company and empire and take down the world, and I'm going to do it all by myself. And I have these top secret things that I can't share with people because they're going to try to rob me or steal me of those secrets. And then when I met you and the energy and the passion that you gave me from our first phone call, and my wife was on that phone call, as soon as we hung up, my wife said, go join his team. You guys are about to be BFFs. I'll never forget it. So my mindset completely shifted from, I need to keep everything inside internally, do everything secretively for myself so I can get my family ahead. But I've realized and I've learned from you and people on your team that that's not the way to succeed. What do you have to say about sharing ideas and giving others?
Yeah. So you mentioned the go-giver mindset, and I think that's a very big one, right? And I think that I tend to be on the other extreme where I want to see everyone win. And in fact, what I struggle with is what I've learned is they have to want it more for them than I want it for them, right? Meaning I can take a horse to water, but I can't make it drink. So I'm very big on outward accountability, meaning, Nico, if I tell you I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to get shredded, and I see you a month from now, you're going to ask me, how are those workouts going? And really, I think it's really easy to disappoint ourselves. For example, let's say I had a workout partner and I know he's going to be at the gym at 6 a.m. and I hit the snooze button, I'm disappointing him. But if I just have myself there and I don't have an accountability partner or a workout partner, it's way easier to hit snooze, right? There's no one there that I'm letting down. So with that, we'll go way further for other people than we will ourselves. So a lot of times, I like Babe Ruth, right? When he would point and say he's going to hit a home run, I want to do that because at that point I put it in the ethos and now I have to live up to it, right? I've created those own internal pressures where on the other side, a lot of times people don't share their dreams because one, they're scared of like crabs in a bucket, right? When they pull each other down, they don't want that negative criticism. And like you had mentioned, even with my family, it wasn't that they didn't want to see me succeed. They just didn't understand investing in business, and people rationalize what they don't understand by fearing it. We have a very primitive brain, and that's how it works. And so with that, I do think it is good to do that, because again, you never know who or I think it's good to talk about what you're doing and tell their people. It's going to hold you accountable. You don't know who they know. Maybe they secretly inside want to invest in multifamily too, and then you just gained an investor or a potential partner. So I think there's very little downside and a lot of upside in connecting with people and sharing your goals, dreams, and aspirations.
Awesome, man. All right, I want to touch on a couple more things. First of all, you have so much energy, you have so much passion. Have you ever hit the snooze button because you feel like you hit a wall? What do you do to overcome when you're just feeling unmotivated or kind of alone, as you stated earlier?
It is a struggle, right? And I do have weak moments, right? We all do. And to admit I'm human is hard at times, right? But at the same time, I know that I think about, almost like we just talked about, right? I think about things that are bigger than me, right? My future family is going to count on me one day, and what I want for them. And that is such a strong desire to be able to provide and explore and live the life that I desire, right? A lifestyle by design, that a lot of time reinvigorates me. I'll go to YouTube, and there's a lot of motivational videos that I like to watch, right? Fearless Motivation is a really great channel. When I have a moment of weakness, I'll put that on, or some Jim Rohn. And a lot of time I feel like I'm drinking from that pool of self-development, and I'm framing my mindset, and I'm re-energizing, right? I think someone said motivation is like showering, right? It's best to do it daily. Motivation, we're like a power plant, right? A power plant doesn't have power, it makes power, right? And so we got to continuously do that. That way we have the motivation to continue going, because again, it's not easy, right? And don't let anyone fool you. But again, it's having the right mindset, motivation, and why makes that a lot easier
To envision. Yeah, I like that. And it's true, a lot of times we get too set on a failure. Like we say, oh, I'm going to try this, and then we try it once. But in reality, you really have to try it over and over and over, and you got to be consistent with it. Josh, I would love to hear about how you did your first deal in multifamily.
Yeah. So first multifamily deal, I had just not long ago moved from Florida to Tennessee, and a good friend of mine actually called this broker. It was in Louisville, Kentucky. And he said, hey, I'm coming to town. I want to tour some properties. And he brought Jake with him on this tour. So they toured 4 or 5 deals. And the last deal was the owners were at the deal when they toured it, right? So it was mom and pop. They inherited the asset. And they were burned out, right? No systems. And so they were motivated to sell, and that's perfect. It's exactly what we like, right? It was in a good area. There's a Kroger nearby. Louisville has a diverse job market. So we ended up buying it. It was 132 units. We bought it for 5.9 million. And since being able to buy this deal, we've been able to increase the NOI by 50%, which has increased the value by 50%. So it was just reaching out, calling a broker, setting up property tours, and continuously taking action. So here's a good takeaway from this, Nico. Let's say I want to get shredded, right? I want to go to the gym, and I like this analogy because it's very easy to grasp. If I set the goal of, hey, I want to be shredded in 6 months, it's 6 months and 1 day comes, I could get very easily discouraged. But let's say I hit the goal that I want to work out 5 days a week. I'm going to do cardio 3 days a week. I'm going to eat clean, except for one day I get a cheat meal. I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep and drink a gallon of water every day. I know it's not if, but when I'll hit those results. And so with multifamily, my recommendation for those that are still getting started or haven't yet done their first deal is set action goals, ones that you can check off each week. And we know that it's when, not if, you're going to hit success doing that. And whether it's 6 months or 16 months, I can promise the juice is well worth the squeeze.
Right. Sometimes it's just hanging on for that amount of time. And I recommend, and what I've noticed is that, joining up with you guys and keeping people keeping me accountable will help me progress and stay focused, even if it's going to take X amount of months. I agree. Do you think that the second or third deal after the first deal is exponentially easier, or is it the same?
So I definitely think it's easier, right? At that point, you have credibility, you have proof of concept, so it's real, so that any sliver of doubt is abolished in your mind. And I definitely think that from there, once the ball's rolling, the second one comes much sooner. But it's just that hurdle, that first one, like you said, most people don't hang on for long enough to be able, they justify in their mind why this doesn't work, and they give up on their dreams.
Excellent, man. I'm going to shift gears completely right now. And I'm going to hit you with a kind of like a different type of question that's going to make you think a little bit. All right, my man, Josh, let's imagine that it is 100 years from now. You set your family up for success. You accomplished your goals. You had kids and they had kids, and they're your grandkids now, and your grandkids are really inspired by your story, and they decide to write a book about Grandpa Josh. What do you think the book should be titled, or what do you think some of the characteristics about you would like to have them highlight in that book?
Wow. So, all right, as far as the title, we're going to call it Changing the World for the Better. And, one thing you had mentioned is obviously setting your family up for success is very important. But that's a very small impact, right? Just your lineage. The world is much bigger than you, I, and our families. And so with that, I truly believe there's a lack of financial education. And I believe that our today's system for retirement and money is broken, right? It's not like our grandparents where they had a pension, right? In the 401k system, most people don't have what they need for retirement, and pension systems are even going bankrupt. So, I feel people are driving down a road where they're going to hit a bridge where the bridge is out. And I believe that through financial education and financial intelligence, I can show people a better way. And right, multifamily just happens to be a vehicle. I don't work at Coca-Cola, right? We don't sell sugar water. And what I want to do in my specific mission is I would love to intercept teenagers because I feel like they're the most receptive, and you can get them at an age where their habits aren't formed and truly empower them to change the outcome of their future generations. So I would love to empower others through their purpose, through financial education, and be a light in this world to help people become more financially literate through the vehicle of multifamily real estate investing.
Oh, that is beautiful, Josh. And I have a similar goal because I want to do the same thing. And as you know, I'm currently a school teacher. And it's funny that you said in 8th grade you got the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, because I have distributed it to a few of my students who are inquisitive about business and jobs. Some kids came to me saying, hey, look, I want to be a lawyer, X, Y, and Z. I said, that's an excellent idea. Take a look at this book. And I've distributed it to them as well, just to kind of plant the seed, because you're not going to get dramatic change right away. But if they understand that there is a different way in the world, I think that it's very beneficial to begin that seed, planting that seed and start watering it then. Because in the future, I would love to have some sort of an educational company that teaches, as you're saying, financial literacy to get people more independent, more secure for their lives, their family, their friends, and their community as a whole, because we want to uplift our society, not just ourselves and our family, as you said, singular lineage, man. That is great. Josh, I know that, I could literally spend 5, 6, 7 hours talking to you right now, but I would like to wrap it up so we can go make some deals. I have some LOIs to submit. I'm sure you do too. How can the listeners, the tree fellers out there, the Small Axe community people, get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'll give you a couple ways. One, first, my email. It's josh@jakeandgino.com. The second one is going to be my Instagram handle. So it's my first initial, last name, 23. So J Roosen 23, JROOSEN 23. And feel free to reach out, right? Again, my mission is to empower others and help them get on this journey earlier than I did, and help them get there safer as well, right? Because there's inherent risk with anything you do. So the more educated you are, the more you can reduce those risks.
Oh, that's great, Josh. And, I have a lot of people asking me about the Jake and Gino community and the Wheelbarrow Profits Academy that you support. Oh, could they reach out to you to get that information, or should they reach out somewhere else?
Yeah, so go ahead and reach out. We do have an interview process for students we work with, right? We are definitely a quality over quantity group. So if you go ahead and shoot me an email, I'm going to connect you with our senior business advisor, Dylan McGow. He can give you more insight of what working together looks like, and then also begin the interview process to see if we are a good fit truly to work together. So,
excellent. Josh, I respect you. I respect your time. I want you to crush the day. Let's have a great day, my friend. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Nico.
I would like to say thank you for listening to another episode of my podcast, where we show you how to use your small axe to build a lasting empire. Now, if you liked what you heard, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and write a review. Also, if you want to get in touch with me, go to my website at smallaxecommunities.com. And until the next episode, keep sharpening those axes.